Okay, it looks like we are live. Here, will you exit out so I can see them? Thing. All right, something's blocking so I can't see you. But I'm here with Adam Green, one of my more controversial guests, which is pretty hilarious because I've had head of the KKK, Nazis, two communists, black nationalists. But for whatever reason, you seem to get a rise out of maybe it's my following, but it seems like a lot of people, very mixed actually. You've had a ton of people request you and a ton of people not like you. We've been scheduled. We were supposed to do this like 9 months ago. We had a little argument, and I had a schedule conflict. I was going to Thailand. I think we canceled it like 3 times, but finally we got this going.
Mhm.
Hold on,
It's
just
not
like
in person. It would have been
clip it
cool
out.
to take. Are you good?
I hear I got you
Thanks
now.
for
Sorry.
having me.
Yeah, there was a little issue. I
It's
know.
cool to do
Yep.
this. Too bad we can't do it in or well, it's not in person this time. Maybe next time.
Yeah, I think people have mentioned about you having a debate, but I didn't want to do a debate the first time. I think it's better to come in here and have a conversation, and then maybe down the road you can debate someone. I would rather just
Yeah.
kind of hear your perspective, hear your story. Before I know you're most known for like the religious stuff, the Christ, the Bible, but before that, what originally got you into this? Because you were super anti-Israel for a long time, correct? Or you still are, but
Well, I started No More News in 2014, and back then it was like I was watching InfoWars and learning about Zionist stuff. That's basically how it started. And then I had my channel banned 5 years ago in 2020, right before the election. Which hopefully, I don't know if you saw the news today, but they're supposed to be
I saw
giving a
that
bunch of
today.
YouTube channels back. Oh, dude, I'm praying hard for that to happen. I had
Yeah, I
over
really
a
hope
hundred
that's true.
thousand subs, and it would be a game changer to get that back.
No, it's so ridiculous they took your guys away. I really hope you get it. That's why originally I wasn't going to put this on YouTube, but I'm like, you know what? I think we can put it on YouTube because I've been in trouble there multiple times. I'm always pushing the boundaries, but like you seem like
Mhm.
compared to some of my other guests, I think you're good.
Yes, I'm
But
definitely less controversial and keep it way more PG-13 than a lot of some other people online. I'm just gonna talk about the Bible, the greatest story ever told, and read some
yeah,
verses.
I know it's
Enlighten you and your audience with some verses.
yeah, it's very controversial. Before we jump into that, let's just talk real
Mhm.
quick about something current event before we get into this because this is probably gonna take a while. Charlie Kirk, what's your thoughts? There's a lot going on there. The conspiracies of that, the just the whole situation. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, it's tragic, or at least that's my position on
Mhm.
it. I wasn't a huge Charlie Kirk supporter, but I still think it's tragic.
I think it's tragic too. I was not a fan of Charlie Kirk. He was basically the number one spokesman, like conservative Christian for the youth in America that was pro-Israel. So he was the top Shabbos goy. He was the golden goy for Israel, and he was a huge gatekeeper. And he was always doing pro-Israel propaganda from the religious standpoint. And I'm like Nick Fuentes. I'm not convinced of the conspiracies that Israel was somehow in it. And I in fact I think those theories are just going to be used for like more of a crackdown on anti-Semitic conspiracy theories on the internet. I think that's how that's going to play out. And
Interesting.
cl- clearly, like it's all the talk is Christian revival right now. We had all the top politicians, all many of which are huge Zionists, all promoting Christianity. Ben Shapiro is donating money and saying he wants people to go to church. Huge push. Trump is saying, tweeting out from the White House official Twitter that we need God, we need religion, we need to bring back Christianity more than ever. It's basically like their number one propaganda tool to create Noahides or supporters of Israel. And that's why they're pushing it so hard. Because the ultimate goal of Judaism is to get, in the end times, all the world worshiping the God of Israel. The ultimate goal.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was very pro-Israel. He pushed all these Israel talking points. I mean, there's people saying he was starting to turn on him a little bit, but I'm skeptical of the conspiracies. I also do think we should carefully examine all the information. So I'm like, I'm in the middle. I'm not jumping saying like Israel did this. I think most likely they probably didn't, but they've done so much bad to our country. 100% think every angle should be investigated. But yeah, no, I think things have gone a little far. I think most likely, even though they are known to come from tunnels, I doubt they came out of a tunnel and shot him.
Yeah, yeah. I doubt they really took him out with a shoulder palm gun or some of these theories that we're hearing. And we could see from the leftist reaction that a lot of them celebrate what happened to him, and they see it as a good thing and they're happy about it. So it's not surprising that they would do something like that. But I think they're going to capitalize it. He's definitely been made into a Christian Zionist martyr. They're definitely going to use him to push more Judeo-Christianity, and
Anti-hate
also they're
speech
going to crack
laws.
down.
No, I think you're right.
Right, yeah, with the speech laws. Now they're fusing anti-Semitism with anti-Christianity, and Trump's talked about, even before he got elected, he was going to have a anti-Christian task force, and this is going to be anti-Zionist Christian task force, and they're going to
Yeah,
crack
that's
down
actually
now
scary.
on. Uh-huh.
I find this
I
scary because this might actually could get support of more people that wouldn't support the anti-Semitism laws. So
mhm.
that's a scary point mentioning that because it could drag in all these people that are they don't like Israel, but they'll still support it for anti-Christians. So that does get scary. And like you said, it would be the
Mhm.
Christian Zionism, I'm sure.
Mhm. What happens is, like, the majority of Christians, which are pro-Israel and anti-racist and everything, they're going to use the Christians on the internet to justify. That's going to mobilize them to be the defenders, because they're like, you're being anti-Jewish in the name of Jesus. So they rise up to try to squash that.
Yeah, no, I think the Christian Zionism is a massive problem. I think our views differ a little bit. I think you think like all Christianity is a massive problem. We'll get into that in just a second. To me, I view, yeah, Christian Zionism is a huge problem. That is how they're able to control, Israel is able to manipulate and control our government. So real quick, like how long, all along, have you thought it was a religious angle, or is that more than the last few years you've turned that direction?
So once you start learning about conspiracies and Zionism, it's clear, it becomes obvious, all of our Zionist politicians and pro-Israel Christian politicians in America believing Israel are God's chosen people and praying to their wall, and that they live in the Holy Land and our Judeo-Christian values and all of that. And then, so the focus was always that, like, rabbis and their Moshiach, their Messiah, they want to rule the world, and the third temple and end times wars and all that stuff. But it's really all a myth. Like, that's the thing. It's this is the greatest. Not just that Christianity is a psyop, Judaism and the Old Testament is a psyop. It's a fake history. It's ancient myths where they're the chosen people and they're meant to have a Messiah that comes and rules all of the nations. Like, at the basic level, that's what Judaism is, and Christianity is just an extension of that lie. So if you really want to be in opposition to the JQ or Israel or Zionism or Jews or whatever you want to call it, you can't worship their God, the God of Israel. You can't believe that they were ever chosen. Like, I say, they were never chosen. That's made up. But every Christian in the world believes at least that they were once chosen, and they want to have that covenant. So in that sense, if it's a myth, if it's a myth that was created by a sect of Jews to theologically conquer the world, if that was the whole goal of the Messiah, was to have dominion over the nations, and nations means goyim, so dominion over the Gentiles, over the world through the Messiah is the ultimate goal. And then, I don't know if you've seen the compilations, but I got them up on my Twitter and on my Odyssey and Rumble. Endless compilations of clips of rabbis celebrating and laughing and boasting about how Jesus Judaized the world, and it got all of the world to abandon their pagan gods and then worship the God of Israel and believe in prophecies about a Messiah. So on that level, it is all within the Judeo paradigm. The simplest way to boil it down is the litmus test. Do you believe in the prophecies of the Torah or not? Because if you believe the prophecies are real, you're affirming God's chosen people and they can predict the future with magical prophecy powers. And I'm not willing to do that. I say they were never chosen. Their God is fake. Their land is not holy. And I don't want the whole world to bow down to their Messiah one day, which is what Christians ultimately do. They want the whole world, every knee will bow to Jesus, who is the Jewish Messiah.
What do you think of like if the Christianity sect, if they just took the Judaism out of it, made some slight changes, tweaked it a little bit? Because some people they're not gonna abandon Christianity. Even if let's say what you're saying is true. I'm not saying I agree with you, but I mean, let's say it is all true. People aren't going to switch over. Wouldn't it be more productive to try to push them from an angle of like, hey, let's just cut the Judaism out of this and make
Yeah,
some
you
slight
just can't
changes?
though. They're inextricably linked, because the whole beginning of the Bible is the Old Testament, and that is the Judaism. Like, you can't have the Jewish Messiah without Judaism. It even says in John, salvation is of the Jews, and he's fulfillment of the Jewish prophecies. So, like, you see this a lot online. People will say, like, Christianity's not Judeo. There's no such thing as Judeo prophecy. But it is a sect of Judaism that all the first followers were Jewish. The whole concept of following a Messiah was a Jewish concept. It's worshiping the Davidic Messiah. King David was the king of Judah. They're all Judeans. Jesus is called a Judean. The same word in Greek for the one for who rejected him is what they called him when he was born. They said, "Where is he who was born King of the Jews?" In the beginning of Matthew. So you really can't separate the Judeo from the Christianity. Christianity is a sect of messianic. It believes in a Messiah. Apocalyptic. It believes in prophecies of the end time. Judaism for the Gentiles. That it's like a form of Noahide laws that they worship the God of Israel and bow to the Messiah, but they're not converting to Judaism in the full sense that they're following all of their commandments and keeping kosher and circumcising and keeping the Sabbath and all those things. So it's like Judaism light or neo-Judaism for the rest of the
Yeah,
world.
I don't know enough about the Bible. I haven't read it, so unfortunately, I can't really debate and push back. We'll have to do that sometime. But do you think that possibly maybe it's a little unrealistic because people they're not going to just stop being Christians? So you don't think there's any other take that could? So you believe
Well,
it
are they
has to
going to stop
fully?
being Christian Zionists? And also, that's not really true. If you look at the statistics, the demographics, the younger generations believe in Christianity less and less already on their own. After World War II, there was a huge collapse and decrease in church attendance and Christianity in Europe. And it's exploding in third world nations like Africa and South America and even in China. But so I mean, I think in the modern world, people just less and less are going to be believing in ancient myths and superstitions.
I feel like people almost like need a God in religion though too. When they don't have it, what you get like
Mhm,
communism, and it's like people need something to believe in, and if they don't believe in
mhm.
God, it gets replaced by something else. I think that's part of like this leftist like tranny culture. It almost comes like religion to them. The Trump people are almost like religion, so they have to be a little careful eradicating religions, in my
That's
opinion.
true. That's true. You can't just take it away and then give people absolutely nothing. I agree with that. And I'm not saying that there's no God. I'm not a militant atheist that
Mm.
says I know for a fact there's no God. I think believing in a higher power can have benefits, but if we're going to believe that that higher power is who the Jews say is God and that he chose them and that we want to be grafted into their covenant and then they're the nation of priests and the chosen people and the spokesmen for God, I'm not buying that. That's just people trying to control you, telling you with the authority of God backing them. And what do they always say? If you oppose them, you oppose God and God is on their side and they're going to win. So
Yeah, see, I don't fully
that's
agree with you, but I do see
oh,
parts of what you're saying is true because I do see how these religious guys take it and they push. I don't know if they believe it or if they're just repeating it,
mhm.
like these politicians, the Huckabees, all these guys, the Ted Cruzes. I do see them use religion. So I definitely part of what you're saying is true. I'm not going to deny that. They take it and they use it, and then they say God says this, blessed Israel, God's chosen people. So I 100% agree with that being a massive problem. I'm just not sure the realistic of fully, trying to get rid of Christianity if that's going to be helpful either.
So should we not try to oppose Christianity though? Because look at how much they're using Christianity for support of Israel. There's a reason that Netanyahu and Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager and all the big Zionist networks all promote Christianity all the time. Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire and Newsmax and Fox News and every single one that we would consider like slaves to Zion and sold out and took the shekels and got the call, every one of them promotes Christianity. So if all the biggest pro-Israel influencers are promoting Christianity, and then also all of the anti-Zionist influencers are also promoting Christianity as the solution, it's just like full spectrum dominance. Like when we're not going to get anywhere, we're not going to defeat the Jews by worshiping their God and wanting everybody to bow down to their Messiah. And if our big issue is that they rejected their Messiah, they rejected Jesus, it's like, who cares? That Messiah was meant to conquer us to begin with. Why do just because somebody doesn't believe in a Messiah, we all want to worship them? It's like a reverse psychology trick to get the whole world to bow down to their Messiah, which originally was the whole goal. And I could
Yeah.
show you the verses for that
Yeah,
in a
yeah, sure.
bit.
Pull them up if you want.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I have seen a couple anti-Zionist like preachers and stuff. So like, what's your thoughts on that? Are you against that, or you think that's a positive thing in the right direction? Or are you opposed to that too?
I think they're doing more harm than good because their opposition is highlighted by Jews. as blood libels and as discredited, like you're blaming them for killing God, and it just doesn't work. You go ask, you've seen, I go out on the street and do interviews with regular Christians, and they'll say, I go, are you mad that Jesus was crucified? And they go, no, it's God's plan. It had to happen. The prophecies had to be fulfilled. Jesus laid down his own life. He did it for all of our sins. Like Christianity wouldn't exist, and you wouldn't have to be washed in the blood and have the sacrificial atonement of Jesus if he wasn't rejected. And it says clearly in Acts it was God's preordained plan. So that's not going to work. It's not going to cut it. The Vatican's not going to switch their theology, and the Christian Zionist institutions aren't going to switch their theology and start hating Jews because they killed God. That's not going to happen. It's just used as the boogeyman and the villain so they could have their persecution victimhood status and to discredit the opposition. That's how it plays out. That's how it's been playing out.
Yeah, it seems like they're playing. If they play both sides, it seems like I'm a lot
It
newer to
is
this than you, but I'm
both
noticing
sides.
they're playing both sides. And I'm not saying
Even
it,
their
but
opposition, exactly, Jake. Even the opposition to Judaism still says, it still affirms that they were chosen and that their God is real. It's just fighting over. Like two Jewish sects fighting over who the Messiah is.
it is insane calling people
So it's
God's
like a
chosen
Jewish
people and stuff.
infighting.
Again, I'm personally, I'm not anti-Christian by any means. So probably half my base is Christian, but I do think you have very
Are you
real critiques.
anti-Moshiach?
What's
Like in
that?
Judaism, when the rabbis say Noahide laws and Moshiach's going to come and all the
Yes.
Gentiles will bow, are you anti that
Yes.
Moshiach? Well, then why not anti-Jesus? Because it's the same thing. A group of Jews that want the whole world to bow to their Messiah.
Well, Jesus wasn't preaching that. It is insane that these people they believe he's coming back. They're trying to build the third temple. I think it's insane. There's like these Christian people that truly believe it, and it's insanity. But Jesus wasn't preaching bad stuff.
He taught that he's going to make the nations his footstool, and that he will rule over the Gentiles. Here, let me show you that verse.
Okay, I did not know this one.
It actually does say. Well, that's a verse from Paul, actually, if I can find it here in a second. But yeah, when I get into these verses with you, you'll see every single time, and the main reason also that I'm against it is because it's a myth. They wrote a story fulfilling Old Testament prophecies. The first Christians didn't even believe in an earthly Jesus. They believed that he was a cosmic, heavenly figure that was revealed, like a God's hidden secret mystery hidden in the scriptures. And all the first layers of the New Testament don't describe biographical details of an earthly preacher. It's solely a cosmic figure that they saw according to the scriptures. And I've done videos where I get into all of Paul, and I'm writing a book on this as well. Yeah. Paul, Peter, James, Hebrews, First Clement, no biographical Jesus. It's all heavenly from the scriptures.
So do you believe Jesus was even a person, or do you believe it wasn't even a person?
No, complete myth, complete
so
mythology invented with the purpose and the intent of having all of the nations believe in this God, believe in this Messiah.
Yeah, I know most historians think he existed, but again, this is not like my area of expertise.
Most of those it's true, but they're mostly Christian theologians that have been saying that, and they maintain this consensus by just arguing for the consensus. I have a big chapter about this in my book about the consensus, and Bart Ehrman, who's the most famous Jesus historicist. I've read his book many times. I've read several other Jesus mythicist books and seen their arguments propped up against each other, and Ehrman loses like every single time when you actually dig into it.
Okay, yeah, like I said, and unfortunately, I'll have you back for debate in person. We'll bring someone, but it's not my area of expertise.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've done lots of debates on this also, but
yeah, well, we should do that in person. That'll be a fun. Like, I was just trying to hear your basic theory and stuff today. Like I said, I know it's not popular with my fans, but I need to stay open-minded, so I'm willing to listen. And I am super anti-Christian Zionist. That's a major problem. So it is something that needs to be taken on. So.
Okay, well, here's a question. If you're, in my view, all Christians are Zionist because all Christians worship the God of Zion. In the Old Testament, it makes it very clear that God, the God of Israel, Yahweh, he dwells in Zion. He calls Zion his holy mountain. He says the law will come forth from Zion. So if you're worshiping the God of Zion, in my view, you believe in in Zionism. Even not that you believe in the modern day state of Israel, but you still believe in the concept of the God of Zion. So in that degree, I consider them all
You
Zionists.
could make an argument that Israel today versus the Bible aren't even remotely related. I think there's definitely a good argument for that. But these people are
Well, they are
definitely
related in
using
the
it.
sense that they're following the Bible. Like they've had prophecies for 2,000 years of returning to the Holy Land and rebuilding their temple and having their Messiah and fulfilling their prophecies. So, but like you say, it's not the same or it's not real. It was never real. It's only what people think it is and how they act on it in the real world. But let me show you one of those verses I was mentioning earlier. I'll just do a
Okay.
real quick share screen. So this is Paul in Romans. He says, and Isaiah said, the root of Jesse, that's the Messiah, one who will arise to rule over the nations. In him the Gentiles will hope. And that's NIV. In King James, it says, he shall rise to reign over the Gentiles. So even the New Testament, like it makes it clear as day right there. It's not open to interpretation. The Messiah is meant to rule over the Goyim. That's what it says.
All
And
right.
just so you know, look, Romans 15, he says, this is Paul, who's the Apostle Paul, wrote like most of the books of the New Testament. He's
Mm,
citing Isaiah, and that's from Isaiah 42, which says,
okay.
the servant, that's the Messiah, he will bring justice to the nations. The islands or the world will put their hope, like the Christians put their hope in the Messiah. And he's also citing Isaiah 49. I will make you a light for the Gentiles. My salvation may reach to the ends of the earth. And here's what it says. Kings will see you and stand up. Princes will see you and bow down. And then the worst part, Isaiah 49, this was interpreted about Jesus. This is the point of Jesus. He will lift his banner to the nations. So the nations, the Goyim, will believe in him. Kings will foster your fathers. They will bow down before you with their faces to the ground. They will lick the dust at your feet. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Those who hope in me will not be disappointed. So that's verse after verse. When you see what Jesus fulfilled, it's about conquering all of the world and having all of the world bow down to their Messiah.
Yeah, I really need to read the Bible and the Quran. I think those are two books I should read. Are you anti Islam too?
Yeah. Islam's
Let's see.
it's Judaism 3.0. Christianity is Judaism 2.0. Islam is Judaism 3.0. Jesus is a central figure. He's a prophet. They believe that he's going to return to defeat the Antichrist in the end times, very similar to Christianity. And
Yeah.
top rabbis like Maimonides include both Christianity and Islam. They say they brought positive thing to the world, bringing the world away from paganism to the God of Israel through Jesus.
Yeah, no, I think it's tricky because you can clearly see there has been goods from the religions, the community building, the most beautiful buildings I've ever been in have been like churches and mosques they built. So clearly, it's done a lot to bring people connect closer to God. Personally, I believe in God. I think there's definitely a God, but I'm not part of an organized religion. But I can see positives, but there's also been negatives, like anything. So, by the way, if people want to leave questions, do super chats, but we'll also take some non-super chats because, like I said, I'm not real versed in religion. I'm sure people want to push back or agree either way. Don't like insult the guests though. Like, don't just throw stupid insults
Address
unless
my
you're going to pay a lot
arguments.
of money.
Here, let me save you the
Yeah,
time. Although I want you to donate to Jake and attack me if you want, but I'm
yeah, you got
not
to pay good money if
Jewish.
you're going to attack them.
Yeah, you got to pay good money. Address what my arguments are. Otherwise, it's just going to look like desperation and
I much
bad
prefer
faith
that. It's
attacks.
just stupid if people insult guests. I've had it happen before. And it's like, just be respectful. Like I said, we don't necessarily agree. I agree partially what you're saying, but not fully. But we should be able to have respectful conversations. When people resort to name calling like Jews, yeah, several people tried saying you're Jewish. Where do you think that comes from? They just get mad what you're pushing.
I think it's because they're mad because I'm exposing that Jesus is a Jewish myth meant to conquer the nations, but it's probably because my last name is Green, which is mostly English, Irish, Scottish surname. You can even look it up. Google surname Green. That's what it says. Only a small percentage, like 5% of Greens are Ashkenazi. I've put my DNA test out for years. Zero Ashkenazi, zero any Jewish, 100% Northwestern European, Viking genetics on my ancestry test. And I was raised Christian. To dispel the rumors, I've even found old videos of me when I was like 3 years old singing "Jesus Loves Me." I was raised Christian. Went to church all the time until I was like 15, 16
There's
years
no
old.
little like yarmulke hats with Star
No
David.
yarmulke on.
Yeah,
No, I'm 6'4",
I see
blonde hair
you.
and
Yeah,
blue eyes. Not your typical uh,
good
Jewish
point. You're kind of
physiognomy.
small. No, no, I've seen you've been to
Yeah,
Israel. I've also been to Israel. So people are like, oh look, he's been to Israel, but I've also been to Israel. It's like,
yeah. Well,
you
you
know,
actually
I'm
went
glad
on
I've been there.
you went on an Israel trip. I went on a. It's even worse than that. I went on a pro-Palestine trip and toured the
Oh, well,
West Bank. I went on an anti-Israel trip,
I
and
was
then
trying to go to the West Bank, but they wouldn't let me in.
yeah.
How was
Well,
that over there?
you weren't VIP with the Palestinians.
Yeah,
I
well,
had a
that's
Palestinian insider, and then so I don't need to get into that. Just some of the lies that Christians try to spin about that trip that I did. I went in the West Bank, Bethlehem, the Church of Nativity, where Jesus was supposedly born. When I got
mhm.
back, I did a video and said I got to skip a line and go in through another door and see where all the tourists were lining up to touch where Jesus was born. And it was because the priest at the Orthodox Church knew my Palestinian tour guide, and then people clip that out of context and say,
I
"Look,
think
he's
that's
got
what I got. I think
backdoor
that's what I got
hookups in
sent. Someone's like,
Israel."
see, yeah, that's what I got
That's
sent.
how
So I'm
bad
like,
the
see,
lie
he's a
is.
Jew.
Yeah, I was inside a mosque of the Cave of the Patriarchs, a mosque in Hebron, which is West Bank also. And then they post that and say, look, he was at the Western Wall. He went and visited the wall. I did not go to the wall. That was inside of a mosque. So those
Shamefully,
are the type of.
I did get dragged to the wall of shame.
Did you put
It's
on a yarmulke? You have to, right?
I don't.
The wall of shame. They
There's no
got you
picture.
there,
There's
dude. You
no
totally
pictures that
did the
I've seen
trip.
yet, so I'm gonna deny it.
Check the
uh,
satellites. Check the
yeah, the
satellites.
wall of shame. You know, if I run for politicians, that's gonna pop up. Like, see, they got him at the wall.
Yeah.
You know, because it's tricky. You know, I go to Israel at the time. I was kind of, you know, slightly pro-Israel because that's kind of like every American. You know, they have their talking points, their Hezbollah. They're really good at it. Their talking points, and but I could just tell something was kind of off, particularly when I wanted to go down and check out the West Bank because I had a friend down there. They were just so adamant that I was going to get killed. That's when I started being like, okay, these guys are lying. They don't want me to go and see what's going on down there.
Yeah. I was worried about getting killed in Israel, not in Palestine. It was totally safe. I went all over Palestine.
Yeah, no, I would be now if I went to Israel. Like, I would love to go
Hmm.
back to the West Bank. I mean, I doubt they would let me in at this point, but I would love to
Hmm.
go and see it. But how was it? Were people super nice to you out there? Or?
Oh, they were so nice, and it was so sad. You know, I went to refugee camps, talked to like lots of local Palestinian leaders, and like the school, and I talked to like shopkeepers in Hebron that are live below the illegal settlements that they have, and I heard so many like testimonials of the Palestinians and what their life is like and what how the Israelis mess with them all the time. It was, and that's part of the reason that my Palestinian friend wanted me to go, is to be able to say I have been there, I've
Yeah.
seen what it's like. Like remember the Douglas Murray Joe Rogan debate? He's like,
Have
have
you
you
ever
been?
been?
Well, I actually have, so they can't use that against me. I have seen what goes on in the West Bank, and I have heard from Palestinians what's their lives are like living under Israeli occupation.
Yeah,
So
they treat them like, you know, not even second class citizens, like third. I mean, it's just absolutely terrible. And the West Bank is not ran by Hamas. So people will be like Hamas, but they don't have Hamas over there. They just brutalize those poor people.
mhm.
It's sad, you know. And like people will tell, I'm not like, you know, I'm not trying to bring the country, but I'm fairly pro-Muslim. Muslims always treat me. I've traveled around these countries. I've been treated amazing. That's what people don't realize. People are like, oh, these people hate you. It's like, no, they don't. That's been propaganda pushed by, you know, our
Mhm.
media and Hollywood to think that Muslims and Christians hate each other.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I went to this like one refugee camp, a few refugee camps, but one was like a school for young girls. And they were like, every one of the girls in the classroom like told us like whatever they wanted to say, you know, to us, like so that we can go like spread the message to Americans. And one of the girls just like hated Trump, which is understandable because he's such a Zionist, right? So it's like
Mhm.
they are not happy with us because of all the support that we've given to
Yeah,
Israel.
rightfully so. I wouldn't be happy with us if I was over there. Like,
Yeah.
we're blocking them. You know, the rest of the world's trying to recognize the Palestinian state, and we're the ones blocking it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
us and like countries like Micronesia and like countries I've never heard of, Tonga, I think.
Mhm.
It's absurd.
Mhm.
So, you know, that
Can
we're
I show you a
blocking that.
couple more verses? Just a couple
Yeah,
real
no, go
important
ahead.
ones. I just want everybody to understand like where I'm coming from, how I see this. You know, you don't have to agree with me, but at least know like where I'm coming from. That's really all I'm looking
You know,
for
I figured I owed you a
today.
fair shot. You know, some of the other people that are on it, I at least owed you to come in and explain your thing. So,
Hmm. Hmm. So in Mark gospel, Jesus is called the Son of Man over and over again. It's very clear Jesus is identified with the Son of Man. And that's a figure from the prophetic book of Daniel 7. It says the Son of Man comes with the clouds of heaven. He's like a heavenly redeemer. And he says he was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations, which means goyim, remember, and peoples of every language worshipped him. So that is the goal of the Messiah, is all the nations worship this God. And this was the Jewish goal. Before Christianity, the only people waiting for the Messiah to come and conquer all the nations were known as Jews. And then this Son of Man, this is a big deal. This Son of Man gets expanded on in the pre-Christian book of Enoch. You probably heard about Enoch before. A lot of people have heard about Enoch and the book of the Watchers and like the lore about the Nephilim. But this is from chapter 48, 46, and 62. It expands on how they viewed this Son of Man. So this is a Jewish text before Christianity. It says, he shall put down the kings from their thrones because they do not praise him. And then over here it says, the Son of Man, he was named before the Lord of spirits. Shall be a light to the Gentiles. That's citing Isaiah 42 and 49. All who dwell on earth shall fall down and worship before him. And for this reason hath he be chosen and hidden before him before the creation of the world. And then in chapter 62, again, the Son of Man over and over again. All the kings and the mighty and exalted, those who hold the earth, they shall see and recognize how he sits on the throne of his glory. And it says, all the kings and the mighty and exalted and those who rule the earth shall fall down before him on their faces and worship and set their hope upon the Son of Man. And that's cited in the New Testament as well, that they will put their hope in him. It's citing Isaiah 42 and 49. So again, all of the world bowing down and worshiping their Messiah. That's the whole point of the Messiah. So you're not really like owning Jews to bow down to the King of the Jews and having the whole world worship. Like at the end of the day, rabbis and Christians ultimately want the same thing. They have the same goal, which is all the world worshiping the Messiah that they interpret from prophecies of the Torah. And I'm opposed. I'm opposed to Moshiach. I'm anti-Moshiach, which means anti-Christ. Moshiach means Christ, the anointed one, the christened one in Greek.
What do you say to things like, when Christians go to Israel, they get spit on, and like in their Talmud it says he's burning in hell, this type of stuff, or burning in shit, to be more precise.
So they don't want Jews. Christianity is for Gentiles. It's not for Jews.
Yeah.
And obviously over the last 2,000 years, one sect of Jews, you can have a bitter rivalry between two like familiar sects. If it's two sects fighting over Judaism and the Messiah, there's going to be a rivalry is going to develop. So the spitting and the cursing and the mocking, number one, that's in Christianity. That's what the Jews are supposed to do. They're supposed to reject Jesus until he returns in the end time, and then they believe. So that's supposed to happen according to Christianity. And also, it's because it's not for them. Jews are still discouraged from following it, but it's okay if the Gentiles follow it. So that's why they have the thing. And in the Talmud, where it says in one place that he's burning an excrement, this is written hundreds of years after Christians have been calling Jews killing God. So like one Jew getting mad and talking some shit is not that surprising.
Yeah,
to be honest.
No,
but here's the thing. Do some extremist Jews spit and mock and talk shit about Jesus? Yes. But most Jews and most rabbis, their view is that Christianity brought ultimate good and has a divine God's plan purpose in the world to Judaize the nations. So
yeah, like I said, we're gonna have to have
the full context.
We'll have
and
to
I've
do a
got
debate.
so many clips showing that.
What do people say when push back on you? The people that do study the religion. I guess we'll have to have that debate.
How do they push back? They'll say you don't understand, or they'll say you have daddy issues, or they'll say you're a Jew, or they'll say you're a pagan LARPer. They don't really ever address what I say, to be honest. Or they'll say, oh, everybody knows Jesus existed. Bart Ehrman says so. Like those are the basic cope responses that I get.
Yeah.
Or like what you just said, Jews hate Jesus. There's nothing they hate more than Jesus.
Well, it
That
seems
is
like
not
they
true.
do, but also it's like it doesn't, a lot of them hate Jesus. It
It's a
seems like, but
nuanced hate.
also,
You're right. It's a nuanced hate. They hate it for them, but they having their enemies. Let me show you one more verse, actually, an
mhm,
important verse to put this together
okay, yeah, and they
of
won't let
what.
us become Jews, so that's
Right. They don't want us to
or
become
it's very
Jews.
difficult at least.
Yeah. No, they highly discourage it. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Let me share this screen again. This is pretty much my last one that I wanted to show you too. It's the other most important one. So Jesus in the book of Hebrews is called
Hmm.
the Melchizedek high priest, like 7 times maybe, and that's citing Psalm 110. It's another messianic chapter in the Psalms. And it says, the Lord said unto my Lord. So like the Lord says to the Son of Man, or the Lord says to the Messiah, sit at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. The New Testament cites that verse several times, by the way.
Hmm.
And then it says, the Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion, and he will rule in thou midst of thine enemies. So first century Judea, the enemies of the Jews were the Romans. And then they created Jesus. And where does he rule? In the midst of thine enemies of the ancient Jews. In Rome
Hmm.
is where the church sits. So this is the point of the Melchizedek high priest, which Jesus is, the Melchizedek high priest, right?
Hmm.
Is to his purpose is to rule in the midst of the enemies of the Jews. That's why Jesus rules over the Gentiles in Christianity.
Interesting. Did you see? You might not have seen it. Someone sent me last night. They're doing some kind of in Israel. They're doing like a trumpet ceremony. I think today or tomorrow or something. When they're trying to like, I don't know what the purpose is. Some kind of ushering in some antichrist. It's
It's
like a
Rosh
bizarre.
Hashanah. It's the Jewish New Year is the holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
that's how you know
correct.
I'm not Jewish, because I would have to be off the internet right now. Adam King's blowing some horns somewhere.
Oh, is that why my timeline hasn't been full of such nonsense on Twitter?
Yeah, yeah. The
A
Jews
day
are
of
all
peace.
off Twitter. It's a holiday for the Jews.
We're off on the training, but yeah, they're doing some
Yeah.
kind of like televised ceremony of like blowing the horns. I don't know exactly what it represents, but it looks a little weird. It does seem like
Mhm.
they are trying to push something right now with all the war. You know, they're trying to push into World War III. They have the red heifers there. They have
Mhm.
it seems really bizarre what's going on, and there's both Jews and some Christian Zionists seem to truly believe it and truly be trying. They're trying to force the rapture.
Oh yeah, the rapture. Everybody's talking about the rapture today. You go on TikTok and every video you see is the rapture.
Really, and
Um, yeah.
not on
Okay,
TikTok.
Jake. Sorry to do this to you,
Yep,
but your audience has to see this. All right, a couple more verses.
that's okay.
Very
No, it's
important to understand. To understand the Jesus deception, you have to see Psalm 2 and Psalm 22.
mhm.
Okay, so Psalm 2. It's another messianic verse. You are my son, today I become your father. This is what is said in Jesus' transfiguration and in his baptism scene. They quote this verse, you are my son, today I become your father. And what does it say right after that? I
I
will
can't.
make the nations your goyim, your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. You will break them with a rod of iron. You will dash them to pieces like pottery. Therefore, you kings, be wise, be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and celebrate his rule with trembling. So this is about Jesus conquering the kings of the earth, ruling over the earth, and have us trembling in fear, licking the dust of our feet. Every knee will bow. This is what the rabbis want for their
And
Moshiach, and this is
this
what
was
the
in
rabbis
the New
what?
Testament. This is in
This
or the
is
Old
the Old
Testament.
Testament. This is the Psalms.
Okay.
Jesus is fulfillment of stuff from Isaiah, Zechariah, Daniel, Psalms. Ancient Jews were searching all of the scriptures for secret hidden mysteries. It was the Jewish tradition known as Midrash and Pesher, where they connect similar and related themes and words and figures, and they connect them and write like new fan fictions, like a literary construct. And that's where the stories of Jesus came from. There wasn't a real figure that walked the earth that fulfilled hundreds of prophecies. Some ancient Jews knew all the prophecies and then wrote part two fulfilling these prophecies. They don't have magical powers. They're just good at writing stories. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a Jewish myth meant to conquer the world. And then Psalms 22, it says, my God, why have you forsaken me? It starts. That's what they put in the words, the mouth of Jesus when he's on the
Mhm.
cross. Scorned by everyone, despised by the people, they mocked, hurled insults, let the Lord rescue him. They taunted him. That's all in the Passion narrative as well. And then scroll down, they pierced my hands and feet. That's where they get Jesus being pierced. Didn't actually happen. The first Christians, the only way they knew about Jesus's crucifixion was from reading it from Isaiah 53 and Psalm 22 and Zechariah 12:10, where it says the one that is pierced. They divided my clothes among them and cast lots for garments. It just quotes that and says the Romans cast lots for his garments. And then this is what it's all about. All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to the Lord. All the families of the nations, the Goyim, will bow down before him, and dominion belongs to the Lord, and he rules over the nations. So that's Jesus again. That's the Jewish goal of the Messiah that they wrote about with Jesus, to conquer the nations once again.
So this was like before he came in. This was what they were trying to
This
have him
was their
achieve.
prophecies, and they read these prophecies and then wrote a new story fulfilling these themes. A
Yeah,
fake
no,
prophecy fulfillment mythical story.
yeah, I was trying to look at, evidence for him being real or not. And obviously there's the people in the Bible. And then after that, I think around 93 after death, and then like 100 and something people writing about it. And there was like mild, little bit of archaeological
There's
stuff, but nothing major. That's why I couldn't find like any
the
strong
evidence for
evidence either
historical
way.
Jesus is you're right. The evidence for historical Jesus is very scant. And lots of evidence that he started as a mythological figure, and it's just this tradition of having writing a story fulfilling prophecy. The best evidence that there is for a historical Jesus is Paul, who never met Jesus himself. He says he met Peter and then James, the brother of the Lord. But I was actually just finishing the chapter in my book about this. The brother of the Lord being James it means a spiritual brother. They called all Christians brothers of the Lord. They were known as the brethren. So that gets debunked. Then Christians will say, well, Josephus and Tacitus says it. That's way later. That's not independent. That's after the Gospels are in circulation. And so then when you learn, like, I'm not going to do it to you now, but I have done videos in the past. It's in my book, but I have all these different verses showing from Paul's letters, from Peter, from Hebrews, how they basically outright say it. Paul says that he never knew Jesus in the real world.
So Paul never met him.
Paul never met him. No, not even Christians will say he met him. Only in a post-resurrection vision, they say. But Paul says where he knows about Jesus. He says, he adamantly argues he did not learn it from any man or any oral tradition. He learned it from revelation and scriptures. Revelations are like mystical Jewish visions. Ascension. He even says he got caught up into the third heaven where he got revelations and learned the mysteries. This is like Kabbalistic type of language of heavenly ascension visionary experiences. That's where they first learned of Jesus. He was like an angelic figure. And there's so many verses that support that in Paul. He says clearly he learned about Jesus from revelation and scripture. He like outright says it.
Interesting. No, I'd assume Paul had met him, but again, an expert.
No.
Okay, we have a few super chats. Let's see anything interesting. Hold on. What is this one? Thanks for having Adam on, Jake. You are living. Be a man of your word. The rabbi hole goes shockingly deep. Keep digging. Okay, yeah. Thanks for the super chat, Jack Cripper. So we have another one. So positive so far. What religion are you? Are you pagan?
No. I revere my ancestors and the myths of my ancestors, but I don't believe any of them are true, and I don't even really know them that well. I consider myself an agnostic, non-religious agnostic.
So basically you don't really know what's out there. The pagan thing's interesting. I've been meeting a bunch of pagans recently. Have you noticed that, or is it just what I'm stumbling across?
I think a lot of the paganism is just kind of like reactionary to rejecting Yahwehism and rejecting the Abrahamic matrix and kind of getting back in touch with your pre-Christian roots. I think that most of that what's going on. I don't think any of these people, very few of these people, and they'll get mad when I say this, but I don't think they actually believe in any of the pagan gods.
Yeah, it's been some of
That's
these nationalist
very
groups
rare.
I've talked to. I haven't asked any details because I honestly don't know that much about paganism, but I found it very interesting that lots of these nationalist groups were going back to paganism.
Yeah.
But
And you
yes,
can
no.
see why. Look at how multicultural and universal and love thy enemy and turn the other cheek. And it's all, it was a religion started by Jews that says salvation is of the Jews. So it's not surprising that a lot of right wingers are going to be, opposed to Christianity because it's Jewish. It's started
Yeah,
by a
well,
bunch of Jews. It's worshiping the Jewish Messiah.
yeah, whether it is or isn't, I think a lot of people are fed up with what's going on, with Israel, the Christian Zionism for sure. So it's kind of it's been a lot of these people that are pro-white too. So I guess those are the original white religions. So that's what I was trying to piece together.
Exactly. Yep. If we're going
So
to LARP as anybody, we should LARP as our own people, our own ancestors, not as some Pharisees or some Jewish rabbis.
there's lots of like
That's my
infighting
view.
amongst the pagans, Christians, Muslims. I feel like the infighting can be a little bit of a problem, or just the fighting amongst different groups. That seems like a major problem too, a way to keep us divided.
Well, that's why I don't like Christianity. The Christianity, the New Testament, Jesus says he did not come. He came with the sword to divide and to turn family against family. Did not come to bring peace, but a sword and to divide.
People say you're
That's what it
divisive.
says.
What do you say
Yep.
back to people that say you're divisive with pushing the anti-Christianity?
That's just their cope to try to silence me. Like, I'm sorry, your religion is Jewish. It is the king of the Jews. It is Judeo, and it is a myth. And the cope that like, oh, well, you just have to like, I mean, when all of the biggest Zionist influencers are all promoting Jesus nonstop, and then all of the anti-Zionist influencers are also saying that, it's just like there's no real opposition. So uh, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I've got the receipts, I've done the research, and I'm not going to stop talking whether you think it's divisive or not. I really don't care. It needs to be divided out. We need to divide away the type of and what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to attack people. I'm trying to save them from the spell. They're hypnotized by a Jewish Bible and Jewish prophecies, and I'm just kind of trying to free and liberate their minds from that mental enslavement. That's my ultimate goal. That's my motive. I want less people to believe in Jewish fairy tales. That's it.
But you do get lots of people angry. Like I said, you're one of my most controversial guests, and I've had extremely controversial people. It was interesting the
Mhm.
mix. People really want me to have you and not have you. But like, I'm a
Right?
man. I'm gonna talk to who I want to. But there were definitely people that were not happy that I was talking to you.
Yeah, yeah. The Christians throughout time have censored like crazy. A lot of them would burn me at the stake if they could. They would silence me. They would censor me. They smear me. They try to character assassinate me and smear me. So yeah, I'm not surprised. And that's just another one of the tricks. They can't debate and argue what I say, so they go, "You're divisive," or they make up lies about me. And Christianity is clearly the one that's divisive. Think about how Christianity injected. It's divided Christian against Christian. Look at how the heated debates that these Orthodox and Protestants and Orthodox and Catholics have.
Catholic,
It,
Protestant, yeah,
Right. There's been huge wars. Think of all the white Europeans that have been killed throughout history because of Christianity. Christians fighting each other, a Christian nation fighting, doing crusades into a pagan nation. Christianity got Gentiles to abandon their gods and their traditions, to worship the God of Israel like the Jews always wanted, and then to, through the sword, impose and spread Jewish messianism and the Hebrew Torah on the rest of the Gentile world. And then if you oppose that, it's like, it's like saying I'm being divisive if I say I don't want to bow down to the Moshiach and be a Noahide. Like I see it as the exact same thing. Very minute differences.
yeah. I know it's like I get people say I'm divided with the Republican Party trying to like tear them down and support Israel, and it's like, well, I have no interest in being part of that party. So yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, not in this particular subject, but if I feel like something is strong enough to attack, like yeah, I'm going to attack it. So we have some more super chats coming in. So let's
Mhm.
see. Thank you so much for giving Green Pill Movement a larger voice. Mad respect, Jake. Thank you. Okay, I thought we had more negative. We got some positive ones. That's good. Let's see another one. Adam, do you still believe the AH was a crypto J or Bolshevik, like your old
No.
buddy Chris? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No,
I
no.
don't know what that
I
has to
never
do with.
believed that. I never once believed that. I maybe asked a guest about that, what he thought about that one time, and that's just like one of these bad faith attacks. Like, have you seen
Yeah,
me
I don't
say
know the
that at any
story. If it's a
time? It's like,
it's a bad faith attack, we'll just ignore it and move on because I
yeah,
don't like
no,
to
I don't believe that.
engage in those. So
Mm-mm.
please explain the significance of 613 Masval, Noshad laws, and the penalty for idol worshiping in Judaism.
Mm-hmm. 613 mitzvahs. That's the laws, the 613 commandments from the Torah that the Jews follow. And then they have the 613 laws for the Jews and the 7 Noahide laws for the Gentiles. And the 7 Noahide laws are very similar to the 10 commandments. It's the laws that they want all of the world to follow in their messianic age. And the first two are the most important. It's no blasphemy and no idol worship. So
No
basically be
idol
their
worship.
slave, worship their God that chose them, acknowledge them as God's chosen people, and never say an ill word about their God or their books or their people or their Zionist agenda. Otherwise, the punishment for violation of the Noahide laws in the Messianic age is capital punishment.
And that's before like don't kill, don't steal.
Right. That's before all those. Exactly.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, we have a few more, it looks like. And we'll get into some other topics. Explain to your audience how Christian anti Semitism work in the Jews' favor and how to keep them together as a collective.
Right. So when Jews are in largely Christian nations or Muslim nations, it works to prevent them from assimilating because the Christians are like, you're a Jew, you rejected Jesus, you killed Jesus, right? So then that Christianity and Islam also keep Jews locked into their branch of Abrahamism because like one reason Jews have so much like rabbis have so much confidence that their prophecies are gonna unfold and they're gonna come out on top is because the opposition against them is led by Muslims and Christians, like just like the plan foretold. And how does it keep it? So it stops them from assimilating and it reinforces their Judaism and keeps them believing. Like, I can't tell you how many rabbis I've seen that, like, one of the biggest reasons they believe that Judaism is true is because Christianity and Islam persecute them. And because because if all the Gentiles of Christians and Muslims believe their Torah is true and believe their prophets, then that makes Jews also believe it's true. So it's like they're all kind of codependents enabling each other in this Abrahamic prophecy, like mind control delusion.
I
That's
mean,
how
yeah,
I.
they're definitely like cousins of each other, the religions.
Mhm.
But
Right.
why do you go after Christianity harder than Islam? Is it because we're in the U.S. and it's mostly Christian nation, or
Exactly.
okay,
Yeah.
that's
Is
why I
our
just
country ran by Muslims? Did
no,
I
I know
grow
that.
up going to a mosque?
I
Like,
figured I should
no.
ask
So
that
that's
question
really
just
why. Yeah.
because just 'cause I noticed you go way harder after Christianity, but there's obviously a much more of a Christian nation than an Islamic
Mhm.
nation.
Yeah, I know way more. I've been focusing. Maybe the next book, maybe the next few years will be about Islam. But also, I don't care as much because, and a lot of my people aren't Muslims. If a bunch
Mhm.
of white people were Muslims, then I would be focusing on it more. But I have in the spaces engaged in debates with Muslims, and they act almost identical to Christians with a lot of their copes and a lot of their debate tactics. And I do go hard on them as well, maybe even harder
Have you had
sometimes.
any threats from the Muslims or no? As long
I've
as you
had
don't draw
threats. I
Muhammad,
don't
you're good.
necessarily know if it comes from a Muslim or not sometimes, but I've had a lot of Muslims like talk shit and lie about me.
Yeah, but like, yeah, just
Mhm.
don't draw Muhammad. Okay, we
Yeah.
have a few more. I'm surprised. Mostly, I thought it was me talking shit. Mostly not. Let's see, where was I? Um, Thanks for having the balls to have a conversation. Guest with Adam is a wealth of information on the Jesus deception. Great show. Thank you. Thanks for having Adam on. I'm surprised everyone's being positive. Handsome Truth 1488. Oh shit, what's he gonna say? Adam is right. I used to call him a Jew because I was under the spell of Rabbi Jesus. He's not a Jew, but Jesus and his apostles were. Jake, you better get me on. I'm going to kick your ass. Handsome Truth. He's a maniac. But
Yeah.
actually,
No, it is true though. There's been a lot of former Christians that would attack me and lie about me, and then they would hate watch, and then they start realizing that I'm telling the truth and that I'm right. That's happened many times with a lot of my followers are actually former Christians like that. So that is a very common thing.
I know Handsome Truth has recently really taken up the fight against Christianity.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like once you realize the bottom of the JQ is the CQ, and that the biggest JQ is the Jesus question, then the same thing happened to me. A lot of people, once you see it and you realize like how this is, in my view, it's like the biggest lie of the last 2,000 years. The most influential person of all time. He led to the two biggest religions in the world, and he's a mythological Jew that never existed and was created by a sect of Jews to with the purpose to conquer the nations. Oh, and in the Psalms of Solomon, another pre-Christian text, it says he will rule with the rod of his mouth. Without an army, he will rule with his teachings. They couldn't win on the battlefield against the Romans. They were occupied and conquered, their temple destroyed by the Romans. They couldn't beat them militarily. And so their military political Messiah didn't come, wasn't going to come. So they instead fought theologically. They fought on the battlefield of theology.
Ideas, deception.
Yeah, and they couldn't win on the battlefield, so they won theologically. The pen is mightier than the sword, and then they like infiltrated within, and the whole goal was to have the Messiah conquer Rome and the nations, and then with Christianity, they're all bowing down to the Messiah of Judaism. Like, mission accomplished. Greatest in that sense, it is the greatest psyop, because it's a psychological operation. Religion targets people's psychology through this like this magic trick that they have prophecy, the power of prophecy, which is so simple to explain. They had prophecies. Some Jews wrote new stories fulfilling prophecies. And if you read the Gospels, it makes it so clear. It goes, and then this happened so this prophecy could be fulfilled. And then Jesus said this so this scripture could be fulfilled. And as the prophet foretold, Jesus did this. Like, top to bottom, everything about it is all just some retelling of a prophecy.
Mm-hmm. Just real quick, since I was from Handsome Truth, do you know Handsome? Do you know him, or just do you watch your show, or you guys personally know each other, or no?
I've known him for years. We had a falling out years ago, and then he was hate watching. I would talk trash about him for basically being a low IQ anti-Semite with all the Christian stuff, and then he was hate watching and realized that I was right, and he realized Christianity is a Jewish myth.
Yeah, I think he goes extreme sometimes, but I actually like the guy. I don't know him well, but had some phone conversations. Supposed to have him on my show sometime. He goes so extreme sometimes. It's like, oh my God, I can't defend that. But
right,
I really like conversations with him.
I say the same thing.
But no, it's a guy I'll have on my show, I guess. I told him I would, so I got to keep my word. But he's done a couple things, and I'm like, oh my God, why'd you do that? But he does some great things too, like the flyers.
He's funny. He's definitely a comedian. He's yeah.
No, I agree. I think people kind of missed the humor. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to defend a few of the things he's done, but there's a huge humor aspect to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he spread some great information, like all those flyers and everything they're handing out.
Yeah, well, I've got some issues with some of the stuff on the flyers, but I think his heart was in the right place. He was trying to spread awareness.
You just think some of the things are wrong, or what are your issues?
Well, there was a lot of like synagogue of Satan and like, some religious stuff that I think does more harm than good, and actually, just gives them the victim status. So basically that part, the religious aspects.
Well, they also might have been trying to use that to pass like hate speech laws in Florida and stuff.
Right. That was my criticism.
Yeah, I'm not going to blame him for that, but they were trying to use that, the flyers, this. Did he go I think he went to jail for handing out flyers.
And if you notice, since like in the last 6 months or so, I'm not sure how long it's been that he's been going hard on Christianity. He's been ignored by the media. They used to give him lots of attention. Now he's ignored by the media, and now all the people that used to be his friends, his Christian friends, are all making up lies and calling him Mexican and stuff and attacking him. The knives are coming out, and he doesn't go viral at all like he used to. He used to have clips, and his account blew up to like almost 100,000 followers. And then now that he's going anti-Christian, it's like the Abrahamic echo chamber is suppressing him, and people are not sharing like they did before clips.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot less of them. I think it's tricky, when most people follow him are probably Christian too. So he believes it, so he has to share it. But when you're going against your audience, it's that's why I would think maybe there could be a way to make an anti make him not a Jew. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I'm not religious. So I'm not the person to lead that charge. It just seems like counterproductive.
I'm just
some aspects.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
just
seems like
like
we're trying to
when you
the
learn that it's
nations.
a myth and like the verses that inspired the myth and the verses that the like that I've been showing you, every one of them about all the nations, the goyim bowing down to the Messiah. When you see all of those, you could see how it started as a heavenly figure. The next question is, okay, well, if he didn't exist, if a magical comic book superhero didn't walk the earth and fulfill all these prophecies, who made him up and why? That's the big question. Who made him up and why? And then it's very clear. You just read the verses. It was a sect of Jews that wanted their Messiah to rule over the nations. And they
Yeah,
succeeded.
if
And
it
now
was
look where
really
we're at
like, yeah,
today. We've
no,
had Christianity's been the number one religion today throughout the world for 1700 years. And look at Jews today. They got their state of Israel. They're dominating America through religion and lobbying and other things. And they've got more power than ever. They've got nukes. They've got us on the verge of all these apocalyptic wars. They've got their tech supremacy, right? So Christianity has led us to here. And now they're
well, it's
still
very
pushing
apparent that
it.
they've kind of
They're in
captured our
power and they're
country.
still pushing it. Sorry, go ahead. Mhm.
No, I would say it's very apparent that they've captured our country. And I haven't studied the religion, the religion rabbit hole. I'll have to go down this, but it's very
Mhm.
apparent through like the APACs, the media, Hollywood. They've came and completely taken over the country. Our politicians are way more loyal to Israel than America. So that's bothered me. Like, I mean, this is something I've
Mhm.
known a little bit about for like 3 or 4 years,
Mhm.
but the last 2 years, just
Mhm.
how extreme and how apparent it is was just like mind blowing.
Yeah. October 7th, everybody started paying attention, especially October 7th. It became too big to hide anymore. And it's not just the lobbying, it's not just APEC, it's not just Epstein or blackmail stuff. They elevate, it's all the Christian voters. It's the Christian megachurches. They they elevate and they support sincere believers that really do believe in Bible. They really do believe the Jews are God's chosen people. They believe it's the Holy Land, and then that's why when you have like I think it's 8 or 9 out of 10 in Congress identifies as a Christian, it's easy to see why we are where we are, captured
No,
by this religion.
no, there is something to what you're saying. I don't fully agree with you, but there's some aspects to it. Like when I see these Christians calling Jews God's chosen people, like how could you sit there and call another faith of people the chosen people? It's insanity to me. And
Think
some
of
of
a
these
greater
guys truly
psyop in
believe
the
it.
world. This group of people in the Middle East, they invent a God that chose them, and then they convince half the world to believe that their covenant is real and that they were really chosen.
Do
Why
you
grant them? And then wonder why they have so much power. They're elevated to like a divine status. Even with
so you don't
Christianity,
think
the Christians, huh? Yeah.
I would say could you argue that instead that maybe the religion was already here and they went in and hijacked it and changed it around? I know people will try arguing the is it Schofield Bible and stuff like that. Like
Oh
they
no.
so you
I
think
thought you
from the
meant
beginning.
Judaism. Yeah, Judaism was not original. They copied it from the Zoroastrians and from the Egyptians and from the Canaanites and Greek influence also. So it really was like Judaism was started on Plato's noble lie, the idea that you have a foundational myth that you lie to everybody to keep them under control, and then Christianity was just a branch extension to the Gentile world of that lie. But as far as the Schofield thing is largely a cope. It's the same. It's not even a different translation. It's just the normal King James version. And there were already pro-Israel people before this. It's not like all of a sudden everybody started thinking Jesus was Jewish after Schofield. They've always known that he was Jewish and the King of the Jews.
Yeah, there's a little
Schofield
something
is
to it though, right? Because he put some
it
notes
did
to make it
change. It's
more.
like they subverted a subversion a little more. That's all that happened.
Yeah,
But
there's at least
it
something
wouldn't have
there.
been possible without the original subversion of having all these Bible believers. And really all the Schofield Bible is, it's a reference Bible with footnotes. So you're trying to tell me like a couple little footnotes is all it took to completely subvert God's word and like it just can't be overcome. It's largely a cope to avoid the fact that Christianity was like they go, oh, the Bible was subverted by Jews. It's like no, it was written by Jews from the beginning.
Yeah, interesting. All right, we got a few more of these
Mhm.
super chats. Let's see where are we at. We got a decent amount of these.
Are they coming through? Let's see.
Um,
We got more viewers on
Keep up the great
YouTube
work,
or
Adam.
Rumble.
You woke me up from the Christianity deception, and I can't thank you enough. Thanks for having him on. So thank you.
You're
Uh,
welcome. Thank
we
you.
must save the white race. We can't go extinct. Exposing the Abrahamic lie is the key to this. Please read The Darkening Age by Catherine Nixie. Anyone who is pro-white must read it. I don't know that work. Do you?
Yeah, I do. It's a really good book. It shows you how through Christianity, how they work to destroy the ancient world and philosophy and architecture and temples and all the gods. And then you see on the cover, it's a
Mhm.
statue with the nose broken off. That's what the Christians did. They'd go around all the ancient pagan statues, they'd break off the noses. And it literally says in the Talmud, that's what you're supposed to do. The Christians followed the Talmudic law of breaking off the nose of our pagan statues of our ancestors in order to remove their idolatry.
Why do they break off the nose? Just to like
Because, well,
desecrate it, or
it says in the Talmud, it explains that breaking off a nose removes like the magical idolatry nature of a statue.
interesting? I've never heard this.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more of these. Where were we? I'm getting mixed up. Okay. I was a devoted Russian Orthodox Christian before. I hate watched Adam, and he woke me up from the spell. The proof is unrefutable. Once you look into it, I'm surprised these are mostly positive. That was mostly negative. This is Pure Blood and X. I watched Adam for 7 years before finally throwing in the Jesus towel.
Hmm.
Yeah, much more.
7 years it took. Wow. You know what the biggest thing is? I didn't show any of these verses with you, but I briefly mentioned it. Once people realize that Paul never knew Jesus and that he outright says that he learned about him not from any man, he said, no man taught it to me. He learned about it from reading scripture and revelations. So like visions. And he says like he was manifested through the scriptures. I've got so many different verses I could show. I could go 2 hours showing you all the
No, I
verses
found the Paul thing
of the
very
earliest
interesting.
layers.
Nothing
Yeah.
I've studied, but that one surprised me. We'll read a couple of these and we'll talk for a few minutes and finish up with them. Adam's a man, been watching his content since 2018. Thanks for having him on for the discussion. Thank you. Does Adam think Hinduism is closer to European people than Christianity is due to the Aryan
No.
origin?
No, no, I'm not big into the Aryan stuff. My understanding is a lot of that is a little pseudo-sciency, but no, there's a meme. We go, we was Jeets, like saying that whites are Aryans and we come from
Mhm.
like India or something like that, right? We was Jeets. No, I don't believe that. I feel like the science, like Plato and the Greeks and the Romans, and when you think of pagans, don't think of like, Vikings dancing around a tree in the woods. Think of like high level science and philosophy and literature and stuff like Plato and the Greeks and the Romans before. Like think of it like that
Yeah,
type of excellence and greatness.
no, there's definitely a lot accomplished under the pagan people. That's why I'm not going to knock them. Let's I'll take a break from answering questions. Just real quick, let's go to Israel. Like, what do you think they're like trying to accomplish? They're just gone so insane, so overboard, where the whole world's like hating, turning on them. Do you think it's just like they're like too overconfident, or what do you think's going on with Israel?
The sickest thing is you said the whole world's turning on them. This is actually what they want. This is what their prophecies foretold, is that all the nations would turn against them in the end time. That the nations would come. I've seen so many rabbis say this. The nations will come and they'll try to take away the Holy Land. And this is exactly what we're seeing in the last 2 days. We have all these Western countries that are recognizing Palestinian statehood. The Jews are not going to take this lightly. They're going to say you're trying to divide the land of Israel, and this is foretold. And there's also, they believe in from Ezekiel 38 and 39, the Gog and Magog war, which is Edom in the West, which they view as America and Europe, versus Russia and Iran, and then also China. And that's like, Trump just said today with Zelensky, he said, yeah, bomb bomb Russian planes that come into your airspace. They're going to shoot them down. And he said that they're going to get their land back now, too. So the war with Ukraine and Russia is back on. The rabbis and Christian Zionists have been viewing Russia as Gog in their big end times war versus the West for a long time. Iran also. So, October 7th happened. They want to take Gaza. I called that from the beginning. I said, they're taking all of it. They're going to blow it
Yeah,
all up and then take it and rebuild it. That's exactly what Trump's
and they're
doing.
doing it right now.
And then I said, and now there's all this talk about a peace deal and a two-state solution with the West Bank. And now we're seeing that unfolding. And All the Western leaders besides Trump is for it, and he's dragging his feet and he's regurgitating the Israeli talking point that it's just you're rewarding Hamas if you allow Palestinian statehood. But if Trump does cave on this situation, which Netanyahu's coming to the White House next week to discuss this, if he does, it's going to be Trump betrayed America and the West betrayed Israel, and then that's when shit is going to get really dangerous. That's when there's going to be a false flag. That's when there's going to be some big attack or a war is going to escalate. Because these guys are apocalyptic psychos that want to have an end times war, that they think they're going to win. They're trusting the plan. They think God's going to intervene and protect them, and that the East and the West are just going to destroy each other, and that they're going to emerge triumphant in the end. That's the plan if they have their way.
No, the arrogance is insane. And do you think Trump like believes them, or he's bought by them, or fears them, or maybe a mix of it
All
all?
three, probably. Yeah. Bot, fears, and just likes the power and the awards they give him. I'd say it's a combo of all three. He just said today when he was arguing with Macron about Palestine, he says he was always been a pro-Israel guy. And he has. His dad before him in
exactly.
the 80s was friends with Netanyahu. His dad was investing in Israeli bonds. His dad was donating land for Orthodox synagogues in New York. Trump got the Tree of Life award, Tree of Life, like the Kabbalistic Tree of Life from the JNF, the Jewish National Fund, in the early 80s. He was bailed out by the Rothschilds in the early 90s, 1990 or 92. Rothschild banker bailed him out, and they said he's worth more to us dead than alive. And then now he's riding this MAGA Christian Zionist. He's getting all the top awards from the rabbis, like calling him the Prince of Peace from Isaiah 9, which means he's like the Messiah, basically. They're saying his name equals the Messiah. He's calling himself the King of Israel. So he's really trying to play into that QAnon messianic, saved by God from the assassination to save the world and save Israel and save Christendom. And now we're having the Christian revival, and he's ready to go MAGA, Zion Don, MAGA King mode and crack down on anti-Semitism and radical left-wing groups. And it's all unfolding. And I've been predicting a lot of it ahead of the curve.
Yeah, he's been such a disappointment to me because I was a fan of his first like term or two, not major fan, but slight fan. I thought he was funny, but I didn't vote for him this last election because he was saying he was just over the top. Like everything he was saying was for Israel, for the Jews. Like every week he was going to a meeting, he was doing exactly what he said he would do. When people are acting all surprised, like I can't believe he's doing this, like exactly what he said he was going to do before. And back to your talking about
he
his
betrayed
dad.
me. I didn't vote for this. Remember, people were saying it's like were you not paying attention?
Yeah,
He was
did betray
grumbling
us
to
some.
Israel harder. Yeah.
He said he was in the Ukraine war on day one. He didn't do that, so he betrayed us in some aspects. But yeah, with the Jewish stuff, he was over the top pro-Israel the whole election.
He's keeping all of his promises for Israel. Like, how many times did he say, like, Israel used to have total control over Congress, but not anymore. It's so sad. The squad, and elect me, and I'll give you control again.
I can't believe he said that, but I saw that very speech. I was like in shock that it wasn't a bigger deal. He said how they used to have complete control over Congress, and it's sad that they don't have the same control they used to have over Congress. Talking about Israel and Jews, like, why would you want a foreign nation to have complete control over Congress? It's because he was at some Jewish only meeting, and he was sitting there telling them this, like being filmed, like right on the air, and it's just shocking. And earlier you mentioned his dad. His dad won all these Jewish awards. Trump's brother was in a Jewish fraternity. Stuff like that's a little bit odd.
Yeah,
I'm not sitting there saying he's a Jew, but he clearly he clearly is tied into him.
Oh yeah. That was one of his main talking points on his campaign was Israel doesn't have control over Congress like they used to, and he'd even say he'd do the meme and say "Make Israel great again," or Israel, if he doesn't win, Israel won't survive, or he'll say, we all have to love Israel more. Like, it's so over the top. Everybody sees it. And then I don't see how you can't put it together that Trump is pushing Jesus, and everybody around Trump and all the big Zionists around Trump are all pushing Jesus so hard. And then to be anti-Trump and anti-Israel and still think Jesus is the answer, it just boggles my mind. It just feels like everybody's taking crazy pills and I'm in the Twilight Zone, and everybody just is constantly fighting over the Jewish Messiah every day.
Yeah, I don't think Trump's really a strong believer of Christianity and Jesus, but he 100% pushes it. I'm not going to disagree with that, but
He,
I
I
don't
don't
think he
think
really
he's a
believes it.
believer at all. I think he thinks
No.
it's stupid, probably most likely. Did you like him at the Charlie Kirk thing? He's like, I don't love my enemies. I don't forgive my enemies. I hate them. I want them to be destroyed. He like
Yeah,
just defied Jesus's like top teaching in front of a whole stadium of people. That was pretty epic,
that's pretty
actually.
funny. Like when she's like, "Oh, I forgive the killer." He's like, "I want them destroyed." But it's like
Yeah.
that type of
Yeah.
stuff's funny. Like, were you ever a
Yeah.
Trump supporter or no?
Um, because remember back 2015, I was still watching Alex Jones. I wasn't fully sure if he was like a Zionist agent, like people were accusing him of, but it was actually his support for Trump and having Jerome Corsi and promoting QAnon, and then saying stuff about Muslims in Palestine and shilling for Netanyahu. I finally realized, okay, that's enough, and I started exposing him on my YouTube channel very early on in like 2015, 2016.
Okay, so you're on him early.
So like very briefly, when I didn't know much about Trump, I was like, "Oh, what? He's criticizing the war in Iraq. He's talking about giving us the truth about 9/11." I maybe fell for it for like a week or two, and then started digging a little bit and seeing, "Oh, wow, this guy's actually totally, Zionist." And then I had my YouTube channel. I was making videos exposing Trump that were getting a lot of views for like his role with rabbis and Jared Kushner, and talking about his Jewish awards and them calling him the Messiah. So I was on Trump as like a Zionist puppet early in his first term, the very
Yeah, I
beginning
didn't
of the
really
first
follow
term.
politics. I just liked him because I was living in San Francisco, and then he just made people just so angry. So I just thought it was
Hmm.
hilarious. That was the main reason I
Yeah.
liked him, not really for politics. Just it was just funny watching liberals just melt down over him, and I still liked that part.
He He is funny, and I see the appeal with him, especially like pushing back on how insane the leftists are. So I definitely see the appeal. I can see how everybody was desperate for him to like win and be the savior and bring retribution and like save the America and save the world. I can see why people see it that way.
Mm.
I just feel like it's too good to be true, and that's almost just like the narrative that's the dichotomy that they've got us all in, where it's like it's either we're with the crazy leftist communist or we're with the Zionist and Trump. So like pick your poison.
I think we
But
want
one
like
more
a
other thing I want
savior,
to
you
add,
know?
something important I want to add. There was
Mm.
a guy very critical of Jews. His name was Michael Collins Piper. He wrote the book Final Judgment about possible Mossad involvement in JFK. He wrote a book called The New Jerusalem, where he had a whole chapter in 2005, I believe he published this. Okay, Michael Collins
Mm.
Piper. I'm sure many in the chat have heard of him. He wrote a book called The New Jerusalem. He had a whole chapter about how Trump was a Zionist frontman in 2005. And he even predicted in that
Yeah.
in another book called Judas Goats, meaning like false leaders of the controlled opposition, right? He talked about how Trump he predicted the "Make America Great Again" slogan that a guy like Trump would lead, and they would frame it as the American empire and Christendom, but it would really be controlled by Zionists. I could pull up the exact quote actually, but
Interesting.
some people were already on Trump all the way back in 2005, and he died in I think
Wow.
2012. But it would have been amazing to see, if he was still around, to see how that prediction
Yeah,
panned out.
I think the Trump thing is like people we really want someone or something to believe in. So people wanted like Trump as a savior. And then the
Hmm.
fortunate reality is he's not. So it's been hard for these people. So like they can't let it go. Like people get so mad at me when I first started criticizing Trump. It was insane. Like the level of
Hmm.
like hatred. I mean, people still get mad at me about it, but not as bad as it used to be.
Yeah,
But like
now
again, the
everybody gets
first
it.
time I
I
criticized
made a
Trump,
really
I
good
lost like
meme for
thousands of
that
followers.
actually. Yeah, you said
For
everybody's
people
looking
getting
for I'm sorry, what?
a savior. Yeah, kind of. I mean, that obviously could relate into what we were talking about with Christianity. You know, people want like a savior. But I find people they look at him almost like Jesus. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Two comic book superheroes. Superman's really like based on a messianic figure. Jewish superheroes like Trump are not going to save us. I made this, I believe, in the first term of Trump also. So
Hmm.
yeah, people are desperate, waiting around for a savior, trusting the plan, like QAnon, saving Israel for last, like it says. Christianity is like the original trust the plan. And that's the
Yeah, trust
problem
the
also.
plan, guys.
Even the this is another problem I have with even so-called anti-Zionist Christians. They still believe that like the Antichrist has to rule before Jesus returns and defeats the Antichrist. So is when Israel returns to their land and they rebuild their nation and they anoint a Messiah and burn their red heifers and they build the temple, Like they go, oh, that's all satanic, but in a weird way, they need that to happen, or else Jesus will never return. So they're against it, but in a weird, like paradoxical way, they actually kind of need it to happen,
Yeah, they can't
and
have
will be
the return of the
complacent,
Messiah without it.
right?
What
Jesus
do you
will
think
not
of
come. That's God's plan.
Adam King? Not to mix up with you, he had the red heifer ashes. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true or not, but he had it like I think a temple and said they'd burn the red heifer. And I mean, he's obviously a guy who likes to, get himself out there. But
No,
what do
he's
you make
got
of
him.
that?
He's top Moshiach contender. He's got the baggie of the red heifer ashes. He said he was going to roll them up in a spliff and smoke them with you and do some Jewish ritual. Did that ever happen?
Yeah, we were gonna smoke on the show, but ended up not doing it. Dan Blazarian came down and
Yeah.
got like mad at me that I was
Yep.
being too nice, and it was a
Dude,
shit
that red
show.
heifer thing is so funny. Like they're having Jewish infighting over if the cow was like a kosher approved and a real sacrifice or not. But it's all superstitious nonsense. They burned up a cow. They have
No,
some
it's weird,
ashes. That doesn't mean that anything magical is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen
but it
unless
is just weird they're doing it.
it is very weird and superstitious, these blood magic rituals. But um, what was I going to say? Oh, they have to destroy the Dome of the Rock and Al Aqsa Mosque before they can build their temple. But I guess the red heifer ashes were just like another superstitious step required so they can purify the land, they can purify the priests to rebuild their temple. So we will see.
Yeah,
We'll see if they will even acknowledge it as real. I don't think it's real. It only
no,
is real
I'm
as far
skeptical.
as people believe it. Yeah.
But people do believe it, both Christians and Jews.
Like here's the way it'll
Guys like
work. If
Adam and
some Jew now goes, well, the red heifer sacrifice has been fulfilled. So now he goes, now the next step is they got to go take out the dome. So who knows? They'll go in a tunnel, blow it up or something,
yeah,
and then say God did it and rebuild their temple. Which there has been plots
no,
like
yeah,
that before to blow it
they've
up.
done some crazy shit. But they're willing to go through anything. Even like you look at like I can't remember when it was, but they assassinated their own in Israel. One of their prime ministers was trying to do a peace deal, and they assassinated him. The
Yeah,
hardcore right. I think
Yitzhak
it was a guy
Rabin,
who's part of
exactly.
yeah, Rabin, yeah, that was Netanyahu's
Mhm.
party. So
Yeah,
it's like they're
Netanyahu's been
willing to do
blamed for
whatever.
that. Hmm.
No, I saw
And
old videos. People are chanting Netanyahu or Bibi, whatever. The murder's on your hands.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting enough. Even former prime ministers Ehud Barak and Ehud Olmert, they both say what I'm saying about the crazy rabbis and Netanyahu. They say the real threat is not Hamas, the real threat is not Iran. It's the messianic fanatics in Israel. And Ehud Barak said that Netanyahu is controlled by messianic fanatic rabbis that want to ignite the Middle East and hasten and usher in their Messiah. So even like the top leaders of Israel are confirming like how insane these apocalyptic temple cultists are.
No, the people are insane. And to me, it seems like they're a real threat for Israel's existence. I mean, the whole world's turning on them. I don't know what's going to happen here, but it seems very possible. One of the things that could happen is Israel getting destroyed. I mean, or them
I
trying to,
know.
nuking countries. Seems
Dude,
they're
they're all
playing with
in.
fire
They're
for
trusting
sure.
the plan harder than anybody, right? They're like, I don't care, They're they're
They're
they're
like
betting the
QAnon.
farm on their prophecies coming to fruition. Otherwise, they're going to be in big trouble. But look
No, they're
how
going
much they've
hard.
dominated. How many times did we hear, oh, Hezbollah, they're going to destroy Israel, or Israel could never send troops in and invade Gaza? They destroyed Gaza. They blew up all the pagers in Hezbollah. They're assassinating leaders in the capital of Qatar, the capital of Tehran. They're bombing the nuclear facilities of Tehran. They've had just been win after win after win over there.
It sucks
And
being an anti-Israel guy because it's true. They keep winning. I mean, a lot of help from the U.S., but still, they keep winning, winning, winning.
yeah,
I
and
don't
it's
know what the
like,
end game is.
yeah, are people like learning about Israeli Zionist power on Twitter and on the internet right now? Yeah, but are they able to flip a switch and turn all that off overnight? They could also do that. But is any of this like mass noticing and mass awakening actually have an effect on the political level or like on the
No, not
institutional
yet.
level? No, they're more empowered than ever actually. The Judeo-Christian kosher nationalism of Charlie Kirk has a mandate and more empowered and emboldened than ever after this assassination.
Yeah, it's frustrating because Israel's gotten so unpopular, but yet our politicians are still just bending over backwards doing their bidding.
Mhm.
And I
More
think
than ever.
maybe 10 years down the road that might change unless they're able to, censor us all, change things around. So it's hard to say what direction it's going to go
Mhm.
because the young people
Mhm.
don't like Israel. And it's going to be hard to win them back. But so far, it's going to take years to make any actual change.
Well,
So,
remember there was the leaked audio of Greenblatt kvetching about TikTok being
yep,
anti-Semitic and them not censoring what the ADL wanted. Well, now they forced TikTok to sell. They installed
to a
the
Jew.
leader of the hate speech department with some IDF Jewish girl, and now I just saw the White House spokesman said that they're redoing they're fixing the algorithms now, and we know what that means. It means Israeli criticism, Zionist power, Jewish conspiracies are all going to be shut down.
Yeah, I pretty much stopped using TikTok because I get so little. I was getting traction, and then it just got buried, And it's like I don't think it was
Mhm.
just me not having as good content. I think it was just so drastic. They did something to like pull me out of the logarithm.
Me too. Yeah,
You know?
my videos there. Other accounts that weren't even that big would mirror my videos and repost them, and they'd go crazy viral, like rabbi compilations. But then on my page,
Hmm.
they'd get like no views at all, and then I barely ever posted, and I still got banned on there for just
Yeah.
posting like rabbi clips,
Yeah, I think
little
I need to
shorts
just
from
start a
my
new one. These
videos.
rabbi
Mhm.
clips, I haven't watched a lot, but I've watched some, and they're pretty insane. These extreme rabbis, Netanyahu's party. It's like crazy people running the government over there. And there are our Christian Zionists are going along with them. That's why I think there are
Mhm.
important. I don't agree with everything you say, but there are important aspects. Let's read a few more super chats.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's see. What's he say? LGBTQ are fighting the judo matrix morals. Adam, I don't quite. I guess he's asking you if the LGBT are fighting for judo matrix morals. I don't know.
No, no. The left opposition to Judaism or to Israel is completely controlled opposition. They'll scapegoat America. They'll say America controls Israel. They'll say it's
Yep.
Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. It's secular, atheist, white settler colonialism. The left is controlled opposition. The biblical scholars in academia, they're also controlled opposition. They're hypersensitive to anything deemed as anti-Semitic. It's
Hmm.
considered blasphemy to criticize Judaism or say Jesus didn't exist amongst the biblical scholarly community on YouTube, especially. And like the communist in the communist opposition to Israel doesn't get anywhere. They just basically hate white people and call them white people.
Yes. And yeah, these people are part of the reason they're so obnoxious. That's why a lot of people automatically go pro-Israel because these people are
Exactly.
awful. So we want to go the opposite of them. Like people, oh, you don't want to be with these, blue-haired trannies. It's like, no, I
Right.
don't. But they are right on the Israel issue, and they do say
And it
things
works
like,
the other way too. This is totally true. It works the other way. People see like Donald Trump is just like completely, owned by Israel, so they go, "Oh, I got to support." Or these Bible fanatics. Donald Trump's White House faith advisor Paula White is speaking in tongues in front of the White House. They're insane, so it makes people vote Democrat. I
no,
think
exactly.
everybody,
People,
most
people go the
people in America
opposite.
would agree. We don't want either of the extreme sides.
No, yeah, I agree. I saw some of the I can't remember what count, a large left-wing count yesterday was saying that Israel is just a vassal state of America. It's like, give me a break with that bullshit.
Yeah.
That's clearly not the case. That's just such
Yeah,
a
that was
such a low
Hassan
IQ.
Piker.
Yes, that's who it was. I think that guy.
Mhm.
He's the guy I think that was pushing, trying to get me like banned from X. When I forget what I said, something like about something against the tranny kids, saying that should be banned.
Yeah.
Like trying to call me. That guy's such a dork.
And now they're all getting banned, and like Destiny's getting banned from Twitch and stuff, and demonetized on YouTube, and it's like, and now they care about free speech. Now the mainstream media is writing articles about, oh no, people are getting fired for their opinions. This is now they care about free speech all of a sudden. When they were
Now they
censoring,
care
when the
exactly.
Democrats were in party and they were censoring all of us, then that was words have consequences. They're so hypocritical.
No, exactly. That's why I don't care when those guys get canceled. Like if he's calling for me to get canceled, like I'm not going to care when he gets canceled. I mean, people
Hmm.
can be like, oh, you can, you should say what's right, but this guy's literally calling for me to get canceled. So when he gets like, fired or banned from Twitch, I think it's funny. So, all right, let's
Yeah.
read a few more of these super chats. So, secular Marxists are fighting the judo matrix. Someone asks.
No. No. No, they're running cover for it, actually, whether they know it or not. The talking point that Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism is completely deflecting away with that the root of Jewish identity in the state of Israel is all rooted in Judaism. Zionism is just Judaism politically playing out in the real world.
Yeah, and Zionism,
There
I
would
mean,
be no Zionism without Judaism. Returning to the land, calling it Zionism, going to that promised land, wanting to rebuild their temples, believing that their prophecies are being fulfilled. This is all Judaism. It's not like some Zionism thing that's
yeah.
different, but you see it all the time, that talking point. It's only running cover.
What do you make of like the original Zionist movement to take back Israel and Theodore Herzl and all
Well,
that?
this is another common misconception. The original Zionist movement was not the secular movement of Theodor Herzl. There were many Zionist movements before that. Zabbatai Zevi in the 1666, that was a Zionist Kabbalistic movement that
Sure.
they thought he was the Messiah and he was trying to return to the Holy Land. There's one of the top Kabbalists in the 17th century, the Gaon of Vilna, the genius of Vilna. He had a Kabbalistic Zionist movement where they wanted. Jews have been praying 3 times a day for the rebuilding of their temple and for to celebrate next year in Jerusalem. Since the temple was destroyed, they've wanted to go back from their exile. So they weren't able to accomplish it until they did it with the facade of being a secular thing. They had to win the secular people on board, but it has always been rooted in religion to go back. Even Ben Gurion, he was citing all these
Interesting.
prophecies and scriptures and stuff to justify it and using the religious language.
Yeah, I think
So
the one. What's the one guy? The first name you mentioned. He was tied to like the Frankists and stuff, right? The
uh,
and
yeah,
then Ben.
Zabbatai
Yeah,
Zevi,
it's like
the
some
Frankists
wild
were
stuff.
after him.
They left from him, so
Yeah,
it's
they were
like
like the continuation of his
yeah. So
movement.
we can't talk about it. It's not that they didn't exist. It just didn't like
Mm,
wasn't properly explained. It's
yeah.
one of those weird religious offshoots.
Mm. Yeah, and it
So
was just it was a manifestation of messianic Judaism, is what that was.
all right, one more question here. It is being anti-Abrahamic, which includes Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, is not easy. You get incredible amount of hate. It's not easy to speak the truth. We must do it
Mhm.
for our people. That's from Jack the
Yeah,
Clipper. I think he sent another one before too. So thank you.
it is true, Jake. I know you notice it, and I appreciate you for having me
No,
on
you've
because
gotten a lot of hate. I was pushed
it is
back for
going
having.
against the grain. There is an Abrahamic echo chamber, and they want to have an Abrahamic safe space where like nobody's even ever questioning if the whole Bible's just a lie. Like everybody just kind of goes without saying and grants, like, oh, well, yeah, we know the Bible's true and the prophecies are true. Well, if you believe the prophecies are true, then you've already lost. You've already, fallen under the spell that they have magical prophecy powers.
Yeah, I try to stay open-minded, and it's funny. I'm
Mhm.
probably gonna get more backlash from this than David Duke, Grand Wizard of the
Maybe, yeah.
KKK.
Yeah,
Who
you have
knows?
like
But
a World War II debates that's going to be more controversial. But no, you're going to be fine. It's going to be
oh no,
fine.
I'm not worried about it. That's the thing. You have to just. I'm not gonna have a podcast and like not talk to guests I don't want to talk to. There'd be no point of having a podcast if we're gonna do that. That would be
You
pretty
saying you don't
lame.
want to talk to me?
No,
Don't
yeah,
don't you want
no,
to don't you want to question
no. I
the
do want to have these
religions? Like,
conversations. That's
yeah,
the thing. I
yeah,
think this is a conversation to like not have this conversation because half my audience doesn't want it is
right.
retarded. If it's something I'm interested in, I want to hear the. I don't agree with everything you said, but I think that there's clearly a major problem with Christian Zionism. So to not acknowledge that problem, you have to look at the roots and try to dig. And I think it's he made like I said I don't agree. I think he made some valid points. So
Exactly. You nailed it. The roots. In the New Testament, it says Christianity, do not boast Christians against the Jews because they are the root that supports you. I'm not for going limited hangout, cutting off the leaves and this branch or Schofield Bible or only the Talmud. The root of it all is the Torah, Yahwehism. Believe in Yahweh, believe in Torah prophecies. That is the root of the deception. You're right about that.
would you say that it's all kind of the same God they're believing? I know Christians would say
Yes.
no because Jesus makes it different.
They would say that, but it says explicitly in the New Testament that the Christians are following the God of Israel. Or the God of the Jews, actually, is what it says,
Which is
even
the
more
same God.
specifically.
Allah just means God, which is the same God they're
Oh,
worshiping.
yeah. Yeah, it's the God of Abraham, for sure. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, it's all the God of Abraham. Here, look, I'll show you real quick. Just so people can know, because a lot of people think this. They go like, "Oh, it's Jews." Another cope is they'll say Jews worship Satan. In Judaism, Satan is like the adversary to God and works for God and provides a divine role, but they don't worship Satan. They worship Yahweh. And if you don't recognize, and that's the cope with Christians, they'll make up and say Jews worship Satan because if they don't say that, then Christians are admitting they're worshiping the Jewish God, which was the whole goal with the Jews to begin with. So here's Paul in Romans 3:29. Is God the God of the Jews only? Is he not the God of Gentiles too? Yes, of Gentiles too. So it's very clear Christians, Gentile Christians are worshiping the Jewish God, Yahweh. And I no forget about it. No Jewish God for me, no bowing down to Jewish messiahs to me. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in being a slave to Yahweh, a slave to Zion. That's just my position. Call me Jewish if you want. I don't think it's Jewish to not believe in Jewish magic and a Jewish Messiah, but that's one of the copes I hear a lot.
So would you say, okay, you say Christianity was from the beginning. Do you think the same thing with Islam, or do you think that kind of randomly popped up, then they tried taking control of it?
That's a good question. I don't know to speak definitively on that, if it was started by a Jewish sect or if it was just like Arabs that were like appropriating the memes within Christianity and Islam. Honestly, I haven't investigated that and researched that enough. I've heard different theories. Some people say Muhammad never existed. Some people say his one of his wives was a Jew, or that he was influenced by Jews. I don't really know, but I'll tell you one thing. Trying to claim that, like Islam does, that Muhammad was illiterate and the angel Gabriel appeared to him and dictated all of the Quran is such a made-up story. It's 700 years later, they're just retelling what's in the Torah, but yet still affirming the Torah, and they still believe in the Jews are the people of the book and like that, God's people in a way. So they're still affirming the foundation. I mean, there's just no greater psyop than the Jews saying that they're chosen by God and then convincing half the world through Christianity and Islam that that's true. Like that is wild.
It's pretty wild. So Islam calls them the chosen people too?
I don't know if it calls them the chosen people, but there is stuff in the Quran that identifies them as the people of the book and the people of Israel. And they think that the Jews were chosen by God, but then they corrupted it or got it wrong or something like that. So as in Christianity, like there's supersessionism, replacement theology, where Christians say, well, the Jews aren't chosen anymore. They broke their covenant. We have the covenant now. We're the spiritual Jews. But to even say that they were ever chosen is too much. Like if a Jew tells you he was chosen and you say, yeah, I believe you, like you've already lost. You've already capitulated to like the big lie. It is.
I'm the chosen person. Okay. It's like, to me, that's insane.
Yeah.
People
I believe you.
Yeah. Anything else you want to hit on this or any other subjects before we wrap up?
No, man, I think we covered about all of it. I'll be happy to do a debate another time, or have you on my show to talk about news or whatever else.
Yeah, let me see if there's any more questions before we wrap up. There might be some more super chats. And I just real quick, anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
Yep. I was banned from YouTube, but there is a fan created a fan page. So there's the Adam Green fan page on YouTube. If you're a YouTube person, I stream on Rumble and Odyssey almost every day, every weekday. There's playlist on the Odyssey called the Jesus Deception playlist if you're interested in more, and also a rabbi compilation to really get the big picture of the whole Abrahamic deception. And I'm almost done with my first book called The Jesus Deception, where I get into every little detail of this from beginning to end, putting it together in a very simple way of how I understand it and from all my research. And I hope everybody checks that out when it's ready.
This is the first book you're writing?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work, I would imagine.
Oh my gosh. It's like 300 pages. I've been doing it for like 3 years. It is so much work to write a book.
Yeah.
So much research went into it, which is good because it's like embedded it into my mind where it's like.
So if you're having debates or conversations, you remember it all.
Exactly.
Oh, I'll check that out. For me, if you want to support the podcast, fightbackpodcast.com, you can buy some cool merch. My sponsor, Antelope Hill Publishing, you get a discount, use Fightback there and you get a discount and help the podcast. I guess that's about all. So trying to think any final questions before I wrap.
Do you have any questions for me? Anything like of the verses I talked about or any other questions?
If I have you back, I think I need to read the Bible before or have a debate, because it's a subject that I'm just not that up on. That's why it's kind of hard for me to push back. It's one of those conversations like I don't fully agree with it all, but it's like I can't.
You saw the verses, like you can't not agree with all the verses I showed that talk, and not even Christians would disagree with all the verses I showed about all the nations bowing. They just go, Jesus, he's not just the king of the Jews, he's the king of the whole world. But it's like, yeah, that's the point. Like you believe the king of the Jews is the king of the whole world. Like that's the trap.
So, all right, I guess thanks so much for coming on, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good one, Adam.
All right.